The Reconquista Initiative presents How to Survive a Police Investigation. It is undeniable that today, men in the West stand a non-negligible chance of being falsely accused of a criminal offense, especially given the ease with which jaded and jilted ex-girlfriends or spouses can make false accusations about sexual assault or domestic violence without suffering any major repercussions for doing so. Indeed, many men might find that the police coming to knock at your door to ask you a few questions is not as rare of an occurrence as it once was, even for men of good standing. As such, it is incumbent on every man to know how to deal with a modern police investigation, or else one day he suddenly might find himself in the back of a police car with no idea what to do. And having been on the police side of the equation, I think that I have some valuable knowledge to share about this matter. So here are a few tips to know about the police process if you are an innocent man who has been falsely accused of a crime. 1. Know your rights. The first thing that you should do is to know your rights under the law. Know the laws that exist in your specific jurisdiction, and know the laws that exist in any country that you will be visiting. After all, knowledge is power, and so knowledge of your legal rights will help you greatly if you ever have to deal with the local police. I cannot stress this enough. Know your rights, for doing so will give you some level of power, control, and leverage as you go through the investigative process. And know that even a fraction of power, control, and leverage might be enough to save you from making a disastrous mistake during that process. 2. Not every cop is out to get you. Look, it is undeniable that police officers, being human, might fixate on you as a suspect and try to bring you down no matter what the truth is. Indeed, it is undeniable that there have been cases of police corruption in the past where innocent people have been wrongfully charged and convicted. Sometimes, the police are really out to get you, and you need to be aware of that and realize when that is happening. At the same time, however, you must also realize that not every cop is out to get you. In fact, most aren't. For example, cops know better than anyone else the bullshit that is so-called modern rape culture, and they know this due to the countless hours they spend investigating unsubstantiated and even outright false reports. So don't think that every cop wants to sink you. Many cops are interested in the truth, and so know that speaking to the police and giving your side of the story will often provide the police with the best possible picture of what occurred in a given situation. And so, while a natural form of caution concerning the police is healthy when dealing with them, do not let this turn into an irrational paranoia, for that could then backfire on you quite severely. 3. Know that cooperation is a major tell. In keeping with the last point, realize that if you are falsely accused of a he said, she said crime, then cooperating with the police is often the very thing that will exonerate you. For example, I remember a number of cases where the accuser's testimony was imperfect, but it was still sufficient to form the grounds necessary to arrest the suspect. Yet it was the suspect's own voluntary testimony which was of such strength and credibility that it was easy for us to believe the suspect over the person making the complaint. And so we dropped the charges. So your statement, if given to the police, can be powerful evidence in your favor. In fact, just your willing cooperation is powerful testimony of your innocence. Indeed, myself and my fellow officers used to joke that if a man came into the police station to voluntarily give a statement after being accused of a he said, she said crime, and if the first thing that he told us was that he was willing to give us a statement and answer all our questions and allow us to take his DNA and allow us to search his property, and if he was even willing to freely take a lie detector test, then this was a very good indication that the man was innocent, because only a criminal genius or an innocent man would freely volunteer to do all that, and most people are not criminal geniuses. So don't always be afraid to cooperate. And at the same time, realize that if you do not give your statement to the police, then often all the police have to go on is the statement of your accuser. And if that statement is credible enough, and if you will not testify to counteract that statement, then the police will make a decision based on the evidence that they have, and thus arrest you, and then interrogate you anyway. So it is often in your best interest to take the initiative and speak to the police before they are forced to choose what to do without taking your side of the story into consideration. Four, give the police something. If you are reluctant to give an in-person statement to the police, and in some cases I can understand why this would be so, then at the very least give the police something. What I suggest is a written statement which is completed with a lawyer and obviously vetted by him, and then presented to the police by your lawyer. At least this way, you are cooperating with the police, but you are not exposing yourself too much. 5, know the difference between an interview and an interrogation. If you do decide to speak to the police, then you must know the difference between an interview and an interrogation. If you are invited into an interview room and the police officer asks you some fact-finding questions, but you are doing most of the talking, then you are in an interview and all is well. If, by contrast, the police officer suddenly starts to do most of the talking, and if the police officer is making accusations at you and is asking you why you committed the crime, then you are in an interrogation and the police think that you are guilty, or they are testing you. You need to realize this distinction in order to know how to react properly. However, note as well that even in an interrogation, the police cannot abuse you or intimidate you, at least not in most Western countries. Any interrogation that even has a hint of intimidation or tit-for-tat promise-making will be thrown out of court if properly argued. So even an interrogation is not as deadly as it seems. Knowing this can help give you the strength and wherewithal to get through one. 6, keep your head down and shut up. If you are being interrogated, but you have not yet been arrested or detained, then immediately state that you wish the meeting with the police to cease. Ask for legal counsel if you have not already done so. Be polite but firm, and extract yourself from the room as quickly as possible. If you are already under arrest, and thus you must remain to be interrogated under police control, then prepare yourself mentally for that fact. And then, once the interrogation starts, immediately put your head on the table or between your knees so you do not look at the police officer. Place your hands over your ears so you cannot hear what they say, and just politely repeat that you are invoking your right to silence and that you would like to be returned to your cell. Again, be polite but be firm. This is the best way to get through a hostile interrogation without exposing yourself in some way. 7. The consequences of not reporting. Finally, realize the consequences of not speaking to the police when falsely accused of a crime. While they may charge you regardless, even if they do not, your name will always be in a police databank as a suspect of some offense or other. And while this is not the end of the world, it is not ideal either. So if you are innocent of the crime in question, it often is in your best interest to get the matter investigated and resolved in your favor. And trust me, incidents being resolved in the favor of falsely accused men do happen, and often, more often than we think. So these are just a few of the hints that should help you deal with the police. And although they are not applicable to every jurisdiction, these tips are general enough that they should help you survive an investigation by most Western police forces. But hopefully, it never comes to that. Please subscribe to this channel, and, if you wish, please support it either through PayPal at reconquistainitiative.com or through Patreon at patreon.com/reconquistainitiative. Thank you.